Welcome to Garden Wanderlust, where we step through the gates of Britain's most inspiring independent gardens. Join me, Josef Lloyd, and together we'll explore these hidden horticultural gems, meet the passionate people behind them, and uncover the stories that make these spaces so special. Today, I'm going on an Alpine adventure when firstly I visited the Alpine Gardening Society's first show of the year. Then I went on to have a wander in a garden that can only be described as an alpine wonderland. Collecting and propagating alpine plants is a quiet pursuit filled with miniature marvels. I first met up with Bob Wallace, the Alpine Show's secretary, who began by explaining the history behind the origins of collecting the alpine seeds that were first introduced to this country.
In the 1960s and early 70s, when people could go to Iran and Afghanistan, there were a lot of trips where plant specimens were collected and seed was introduced into this country. And there was a huge development in, for example, these little cushion plants. Things like this were introduced from Afghanistan. This plant was introduced as seed by Gray, Wilson and Hewer. You can see the GW and H written on the note there. 2 germinated in this country. Just 2 plants germinated in this country. 1 then died. So we had 1 plant, and eventually it was down to 1 single rosette. Well, you can see the size of the rosettes. On this one, they're even smaller. They're really tiny.
Yes, they're very small.
They managed to strike it as a cutting, and every single plant is a progeny from cuttings of that single plant of Dionysia afghanica, which of course you can't collect anymore because you can't go to Afghanistan anymore. So this has been kept by the very few people who can grow these plants in cultivation for the last 50 or 60 years.
Bob then introduced me to someone who had a remarkable connection to the Dionysia afghanica plant that we were discussing.
I can introduce you to this lady, actually. This is Charlotte Evans. Charlotte Evans is the daughter of the gentleman who collected this very plant.
Well, he'd always been mad keen about plants and he made a lovely garden in Bristol, in Henbury, and whenever he could, got a sabbatical from his, he was professor of pathology, not of botany at all, but he would go off and explore and botanise, leaving my mother with the 4 children to look after themselves and go off in the Land Rover to France and things. And he took with him to help him on several expeditions, I can't remember how many. He would take one older friend, and then he would always manage to find a young chap who was really keen and who would be very helpful, putting up the tent and helping to dry. That's an interesting thing, actually. When collecting, you have to press all the things that you want to keep and show, and so everything had to be done in quadruplicate for Q. And so whatever the weather, they had to dry the papers, which you put the flour in and then you press the thing between several layers of paper and etc. But they all had to be dried. So it was very handy to have all the things from the tent, holding the tents up.
Like the guide ropes.
The guide
yes,
ropes,
perfect.
You. And so they're lovely photographs of the tents. And he would go to places like Afghanistan, where Kew hadn't got particular plants represented, and so he'd be looking for mainly very obscure plants.
It's a beautiful looking
It's an incredible
plant,
thing, isn't it? Yes.
But it almost reminds me of one of those ice gem sweets. Do you remember those little...
I know what you mean.
Yes, those little biscuits.
Yes.
It looks absolutely delightful. I can see it's also won a first.
We then continued our journey around the medal table as we headed over to the award-winning snowdrops.
This is one, the Farrer Memorial Medal, which is the best plant in the show. And in order to win the medal, has to be judged to be of suitable standard to win the medal by the judges who judged this morning. So this is the best plant in the show and were judged worthy of the Farrer Medal. It also won, we have a goblet for the best snowdrop in the show. So it won the Galanthus goblet, as you might expect.
It is stunning,
it's
isn't
automatically the best if it wins the best in the show.
It is absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
It's amazing, actually. We're kneeling down now. We're actually sort of in amongst it. You almost feel as if you're kind of in this sort of jungle environment, aren't you, with this beautiful...
And what you can't record is the smell.
No.
Let
me have a smell.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh, that's
Stunning.
Yes, yeah.
Isn't
yeah.
it? You can imagine on a nice, crisp, sunny day.
Yes.
And the bees.
And the bees
buzzing
are around. Yes, exactly.
That would be
Yes.
wonderful,
yeah.
wouldn't it?
Yeah, quite.
Yeah, but
yeah.
it's exquisite.
Yes. You see, the variation, something like this one, which is a species called Icariae, comes from one of the Greek islands off the Turkish coast. Bright green leaves, and the leaves are all wrapped around each other at the base.
Gosh, yes, they almost look unreal, don't they? They look...
exactly. And it's got a big green mark on the inside tepal.
I don't think I've actually ever seen that one.
No.
The leaves, as you say, are incredibly distinctive. But yes, they do. They look almost... I mean, I don't want to say the word plastic, but they kind of do, don't they?
Well, exactly. I mean, they're bright green, which is most unusual in a snowdrop. But that is a species that occurs wild on these Greek islands.
I mean, I think that's the thing about snowdrops. They are, and I can see why people get into them.
Well, they're also so early and they grow well in the garden and the like. I mean, growing well in the garden, now there's an example of something where they call it an inverse poculiform. So basically what's happened is that the mark on the inner, the apical mark on the inner is repeated on the outer.
Oh, yes.
So you have this sort of heart-shaped mark on all 6 of the tepals.
Gosh, do you know what? I don't think I've really appreciated that.
And this is called trumps.
Yeah.
Because it's like a card, like the hearts on a card.
Oh, yes.
Yeah?
Gosh.
And it is a really good garden plant. It's recognised as being a really good garden plant, and a lot of people plant this and they plant it in the garden, and it romps away.
So you've won quite a few things yourself.
Yeah. I mean, there's an example. There's 3 here, 3 corridalis. These things have a big tuber under the ground, like a potato. And then the stems radiate out from that under the ground in response to snowmelt water. So these things come up. They're the first thing to come above the ground as the snow melts up in mountains. This is an Iranian species. That is a Central Asian species from places like Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. This is a Central Asian species again from Uzbekistan and Tajikistan. So they all come up in snowmelt very, very rapidly, flower before anything is competing for the attention of the bees and things, so that they can get pollinated very rapidly.
So it's the first one in the bar.
First one in the bar. I mean, exactly. Yes. Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And I find them very attractive. And,
they are. And they're very unusual.
We have half a greenhouse devoted to this genus alone.
Really?
Yeah,
Really? I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm just imagining your greenhouse now.
Yes.
But
well, it's empty.
It's empty. It's all here. They're all here. Aren't they wonderful, though?
Yes.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
So presumably they spread quite rapidly.
Well, no, because the tuber just grows and grows and grows.
Right.
If it does multiply, the tube breaks up.
And then, as we make our way towards the end of the table here, we've got some cyclamen, not in flower.
Not in flower yet.
Yet. But actually, they look. The leaves look incredibly.
They're incredible. I mean,
attractive.
Yeah. I think These were put on as because we were worried about the show. Because there is a competing Cyclamen Society show. So all the cyclamen growers, or a lot of the cyclamen growers, have gone to the Cyclamen Society show. So our cyclamen classes that we've set up were going to be devoid.
I see.
So we thought, what can we do? And what we've done is managed to find some good foliage plants.
They certainly are,
put
aren't
in,
they?
and I think it works quite well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it also highlights the differences within the foliage as well, because
Yes.
the patterns are all very different.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is interesting in itself.
Yeah. So I mean, this is Cyclamen persicum, which actually it will flower in about April. I noticed there are some buds coming here.
I can see,
just
now
on-
you've
on
lifted
that
the
one.
leaves up.
And that Cyclamen graecum is autumn flowering, so that won't flower until October.
Right, yeah. That's a beautiful leaf, though, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a huge hobby, actually.
Yes.
And you can see from just the general variety of everything that's around what everybody's expertise is. Okay, there's a lot of bulbs because that's the time of year we're in. But people will be growing lots of saxifrages and androtheses and dionysias and you name it, and then woodland plants, and just as the shows go on, different things will come along.
What would you say is your favourite alpine plant, if you had to choose one?
Gosh.
Difficult question.
Okay. Well, my major interest at the moment is the genus Fritillaria, of which there are no examples on the show bench today because they're still only this tall in their pots. Let me choose a Fritillaria to think about. What's my favourite? I think it has to be the British native Fritillaria meleagris, which is a snake's head. It grows outside. It grows well in the garden. It seeds all over our garden. The garden's absolutely full of it. It has white forms and brown forms and everything in between. And it is just a wonderful plant to grow. It just grows in grassland. You can grow it in a pot. You can do anything with it.
After my fabulous tour of the show with Bob, I managed to track down Don Peace, winner of that Farrer Memorial Best in Show medal for his snowdrop, and we started off by chatting about the remarkable prices people pay for a rare bulb.
People pay silly money.
They do. I mean, I understand that they can go for, well, I want to say hundreds of pounds, but thousands we're talking about.
I don't know what the current record is on eBay, but a few years ago there was one called Elizabeth Harrison. It was a yellow Galanthus warrenovii found up in Scotland, presumably in Elizabeth Harrison's garden, or there would be some reason why it picked up that name. And the person who found it sold it on eBay, I think for a single bulb, on eBay for something like £1,275.
Wow.
That order of magnitude, that's been beaten now. That record has been well beaten. And if it's a plant that everybody wants, even though you've paid £1,000 for it, if you can bulk it up and then sell them for a few £100 each, you can make a profit.
Is it a hobby? Is it an obsession?
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, when does a hobby become an obsession? A lot of people have hobbies that one might accuse them of being obsessional about. No, it's a hobby. It's definitely a hobby.
So how long have you actually been growing for shows?
Well, in total, I've been part of this game for getting on for 40 years, I think. Initially, I wasn't growing any of the bulbous stuff. I've really shifted from growing some of the dionysias and like these, the cushion plants, and other similar plants, and then for some reason I can't immediately put my finger on. I started to grow a few with the bulbous things. Maybe friends gave me the odd fritillaria and the odd snowdrop, and then that just caught my imagination, really, I suppose.
And have you lost count of how many medals you've won?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. I think Farrer medals I'm on something like between 15 and 20, I think.
Wow.
But there are plenty of people who've got a hell of a lot more than that.
And how competitive is it?
We're very competitive, but it's all very, very, very friendly. And there's no money involved. We used to get prize money. Initially it was sort of worth having, and then it got to the point where we couldn't really afford it, and we still had prize money, but it's a bit of a waste of time, really. Winning 20p or something daft. Why are we bothering? And in the end, so why are we bothering? Let's stop. And that's quite a few years ago that we stopped any kind of prize money. So we're not winning prize money. We're only doing it because we enjoy doing it. And for the social thing, because it's the same. People here, they come from all around the country, and I've not seen them since the last show last season, but I'll see them next week because there's another show at Perth Show next week, and we just sort of gather together, and it's a bit like a circus that moves around the country. Whatever turns you on, really.
It was a privilege to visit the Alpine show today. As I was leaving, I bumped into Paddy and Ben Parmee, who invited me to see their own Alpine garden that they had created. So I took them up on their offer and headed over to Chandler's Ford to have a look. Little did I know that behind their house on a busy main road would be a hidden oasis. When I arrived, I asked Paddy what was the inspiration for her passion for alpines.
When Ben and I first met, he took me to see a sister in Pennsylvania, and we arranged to see some alpine gardens while we were over there. And this chap had snowdrops in
This was October. Wasn't it? Yeah.
And I said, but how have you got snowdrops in October? And he said, oh, you get snowdrops in October. And I didn't realise. And it was a downward spiral
downward spiral from there.
That was it. Was that the catalyst
yes,
to your...
I think so.
Your obsession, would I say?
Yeah, it is an obsession.
Complete.
Yeah.
It has to, and looking at the garden, this has to be an obsession.
I've always loved alpines and things. I always grew about 3 different snowdrops, but didn't realise there were so many other snowdrops. So when I retired, I was 55 when I was retired, so I still had lots of energy to do stuff and hunt for stuff. Ben was still working, and I just used to go through books and catalogues and think, oh, that's really lovely. Who's got that? And I would search for it and find it. I'm a bit more fussy now what I buy. You can't
You
fit.
have to be with
You
this.
do,
With now you've got to this stage.
Yeah, but all the little narcissus that are now coming are absolutely fantastic, and the different crocuses.
I'm looking at it now. It's probably just on the cusp of its glory.
Yes.
Between all of the
That's
flowering
right.
stages of each one.
But it's so successional. I don't think there's a month of the year that there's not something in flower in this garden, because I've always gone to shows or nurseries or hunted for things. There's always seems to be something, even in midwinter.
We have iris virtually every month of the year, because you may have seen a little purple one the other side of the fence.
Oh yes, I did.
They start in sort of November time.
Yeah.
And then you've got the Peloponnese snow, and then you've got the little short reticulatas, which are coming now. And then later on in the year, we've got the bearded iris.
Yes.
Which are they like the dry conditions.
Very much so.
And then we have what I call the wet irises, so the Sibiricas and the Insatas, all around the edge of the pond. Can't see much of them at the moment, but then they'll go all through the high summer.
We've got Fritz, little Frit Milliagris. It's seeds everywhere, and you suddenly, instead of having crocus, you've got all these Frits. That bed there and all along the damp ditch is just full.
Frit Milliagris, it's the snake's head.
The classic snake's head.
That's right.
And you get slight different colorations.
That's right.
You get white one. There's a white version.
Right.
But we get crosses between the white and the purple checky one. And they're all sorts of beautiful colours. And sometimes we have up to 3 heads sometimes on a single stem.
Wow.
Absolutely.
I bet they're fantastic to see. That's all right. Yeah, we've got the lorry in the background.
Yeah.
This is
sorry.
the thing. You're on a main road.
Oh, yes.
And it's quite unassuming from the front.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
yes.
come back behind the house, and it's an absolute. I mean, it's a wonderland. Isn't
Yeah.
it? All that I could describe it
Yeah.
as
That's
is
a
a
Porsche
wonderland.
garage.
Yes.
Oh, that's a Porsche
Yes,
garage.
well, it
And
goes.
that was-
There we are. Tell me a bit about the history behind you being here at the house.
Right. I bought the house for the garden in 1995. And, I'm a gardener, but not a Paddy's the plants woman. That's the important thing to remember. But then in about 2006-07, Mum had died and I wanted to do something, so I had a lot of landscaping. So the pond is puddled clay, that was dug, and all the spoil formed the banks at the bottom, because it was all
I
flat
see.
right to the bottom previously, which has given us, clay is quite good because it's very nutritious, and so we just put soil and more soil and compost every year and leaf mould, don't we? Paddy introduced me to making leaf mould. So Paddy moved in 2010. So I had lots of vegetable beds at the bottom and a couple of island beds here, but most of it was grass. And as you see now, we have no grass.
You don't? I was
No.
going to say, I'm just trying to imagine what it had looked like with a grass sort of central
Yeah,
island
it was.
almost.
It was.
we
Yeah.
did. The landscaper did create a wildflower meadow in the middle. It was okay for a couple of years, but because we're on clay and it's so rich, it didn't really work. So
I tried lots of plug plants and
So we-
things like that, and it just didn't. It didn't do what I wanted it
No,
to do.
the ground wasn't rough enough. As
No,
it?
no,
it wasn't
no.
that's right.
harsh
Yeah.
enough.
So this is a couple of beds of tufa stone. So it's sort of like porous rock that I grow different things in. The saxifrages are just starting. You can see the buds here. Look, can you see the buds
Oh
just
gosh,
coming?
yes, they're just coming through,
Yeah,
aren't
they're
they?
just coming, and like that cyclamen just seeded itself in there.
For me, an alpine garden is,
Yeah.
is kind of a dramatic landscape in miniature,
Yes,
isn't it?
yes,
and it,
yes.
it kind of, I don't know, it sparks that inner child
yeah,
almost
yeah.
of that kind of sense of wonder and
Yeah.
exploration.
I know.
You almost want to get down there and walk among it, you know,
Yeah.
as a little
yeah,
character.
yeah,
You get lots of different cyclamen.
yeah.
So you see the cyclamen leaf there. That's an autumn flowering heterofolium. But then the little cyclamen actually growing in so it's seeded into the piece of tufa.
Oh, I can see it popping out there, yeah.
Is a cyclamen coum which flowers at this time of year. We were given some seed by somebody at Birmingham Botanic, and we grew them all on, and they're fantastic, different shapes and colours and
That's wonderful.
patterns.
Yeah, and then you've got the acers that that you can just see they're just starting to get that hue on them.
I was going to say,
Yeah,
when we were standing up
Yeah.
looking down, you have quite a few aces, and I
Yeah.
bet they look
oh,
stunning.
they do. And these trees give some shade in the summer.
Dappled shade,
Dappled shade, and it is. We get lots of beautiful sunlight. You get the early morning low light that comes through, and then the late evening light. Just magical through here.
I can imagine, and
You know,
sitting on the chair
Yeah,
over there.
That's right. We've got seats everywhere, so you can just at different times of the day you can just sit and enjoy different parts of the garden.
I mean, this is no mean feat, is it,
No.
to produce a garden like
No.
this? And it isn't, I should imagine, cheap.
No.
No,
No.
it's an
No.
expensive.
No, it
it's
is.
an expensive
Yeah.
obsession,
Well,
to say the least.
Yeah.
but we try and do what we can. So we make our own. We buy compost, obviously, for certain types of planting, but we make everything is composted. We have a leaf mould bin which makes lovely leaf mould. It smells wonderful.
And is that from, or basically just the leaves that have fallen from it?
Mainly the ones from the oaks that blow into the drive in the autumn.
Perfect.
It is.
And in this garden, but no, we fill the right hand bin of the 3 down there. That is just leaves, and they'll rot down, and then come July, August, September time next year, I take off the top ones that are still dry, but underneath it'll be lovely and crumbly, and I sieve it.
You know, and the soil is alive, you know, so we get orchids that just appear, you know, suddenly, all of a sudden, there's orchids popping up. They're in my troughs. They're
all around the pond. They like the pond and the bog garden.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
And the rocks themselves. Where did you get these?
Well, when I must have been in my sort of after I was 25. I've always taken my mum places, and we used to go to Alpine shows in London. And I kept on seeing all this tufa being used and things, so I sourced it, and there was a local place then that sold it. And then I wanted more when we were developing this, so I contacted every quarry and said, do you ever get any reclaimed tufa stone, or do you sell tufa stone? And one day a quarry got back to me from Derbyshire and said, yes, we've just reclaimed some. If you come up, you can take what you want. And so that's what we did.
Oh, yeah, let's have a little look in here.
Yeah.
So we're in the heart of the operation, which is the greenhouse. Do you call it a greenhouse?
Yeah, this one is a green.
Well, I used to grow tomatoes and cucumbers and things in here before this raised alpine bench arrived, one for Paddy's birthday one year.
Birthday
tomatoes have now been relegated to a little polytunnel next door.
That's it. So they used to have a lot more tomatoes. But this is beautiful. So you've got this is where you do you keep the show ones? In
not
here,
just here. I've got a little alpine house down at the bottom, but this is a bigger space. I've planted some of the sand plunges with actual plants down, which you'll see a bit later. But this is just like all my new acquisitions of snowdrops. And I said I wasn't going to buy any this season, but what is there? 3, 6, there's about nearly 20.
You certainly have bought some this season.
Yes, that's right.
I shall confirm. There are quite a few. But there's lots of other things.
Yes, that's right. So, like this Daphne is a show plant.
I can see you've got some carnivorous.
Yeah, and they go out as soon as the frost stops.
So in the corner, they're all carnivorous seedlings, or not seedlings, offsets. Because out there in the 3 tubs you can see
I can
by
see
the pond,
the zinc ones.
Yeah.
They're all carnivorous plants, and then we have a patch of carnivorous plants in the bog garden
with the iris. So it looks quite. People are interested. Kids love it.
Oh, children love carnivorous plants.
Yeah.
It's almost like a way into getting into plants.
That's right.
Children, isn't it?
It's this 2-tiered system works really well. So I've got this side is cuttings, and I do cutting seeds. So look, this is the one flower on my show pot.
It's there. I can see it. We need to coax it along.
That's right.
Is there anything you sing to your plants?
I always say good morning. How are we doing this morning? Come in here and oh, you're doing really well.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, I'm sure they appreciate a quick catch up.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah, it's a lovely area. Ben still grows. A lot of this disappears. All these snowdrops will have their own place outside and covered so narcissus fly don't get them. And then he'll grow his peppers and chilies and things like that.
Okay, so they'll take,
because they're not so tall that we just plunge them in the sand
In pots.
Yeah.
In pots.
And a lot of stuff goes out for the summer.
Yeah.
You know, it quite likes the summer bake, some of them, and you know they like the summer rain and things. So you know.
you're the vegetable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm the veggie man.
You're the veggie man.
Yeah, that's
Well,
right.
it's funny because we have his and her plants, we have his and her beds,
Excellent.
you know, round the garden.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, is that the success to a happy partnership?
Yeah.
Do you think?
So, yeah, and it's nice because we work together really.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll be out in all weathers. I'm not.
I'll probably do a lot of the maintenance and
Yeah.
tidying up.
I see.
I might start
with a wink.
Yeah, that's right. I might start weeding, but he always seems to finish it off.
Here's the ducks.
Yeah.
Have you named them?
No, well, no, we don't. We just call them ducky duck. You know, come on, ducky duck. You know, I call them and they run up to the house and come up for their breakfast and things. They're always here really early. They disappear at night. I once ordered a little house to go on the pond, and then they disappeared because they'd laid an egg on the side. And I got all excited, and I thought, oh, we're going to have whole families here. And so I ordered it, and then they disappeared, so I cancelled it.
So they snubbed your little house.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Did you
So-
find a new home for the house?
No,
or-
he took it back,
Oh.
luckily.
Wasn't long lived.
No, as long as I gave him a good review.
So all the brown bits, they're all irises up here, all the way down. Obviously, there's a couple that don't die back. You just tidy them up. And then you can see the
All the
leucojum.
leucojums.
They're called a snowflake.
Yeah, they're the small ones,
But they
not
love
the
the
taller
bog
ones.
garden.
But they are rather nice, aren't they? I mean,
Oh.
I think they're lovely.
Yeah, when Joe Sharman, we had him talking to us, and he said your bog garden would be ideal because I had them on the rest of the garden. He said, put some down the bog garden.
And he was obviously right,
yeah,
wasn't he?
yeah,
I mean,
so-
he does know his stuff.
That's right. We once visited the most beautiful garden in Holland, and he had them all the way around the edge of his pond, and it just looked so beautiful.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I fell in love with them. I love them, and there's so many different ones that they're not just all the same. Some are sort of got yellow, some have got more sort of tentacly bits on the bottom, some are green.
And they're sort of less appreciated than snowdrops.
Yes.
And they're kind of seen as a sort of lesser.
Yeah, but
Thing,
everybody
poor
that
relation.
A poor relation. Very good. Yeah, poor
but
relation.
everybody that comes to the garden wants them. As soon as they see them, and they see them en masse, I think it's the same with the snowdrop. I don't think you notice it until it's a whole mass of them, and suddenly you think, oh, how lovely is that?
Where that patch of iris is, either side of that and in amongst them will be the primula.
Ah, right.
And that iris is quite unusual. It's actually an orange iris. It's called iris fulva, but it goes beautifully with the oranges of the primula.
I can imagine. It absolutely shines.
Yeah.
Amongst the rest of them.
But the primula are all there. They're just
hidden. Yeah.
hidden.
They're just ready to
They
come
just-
up.
And
yeah.
there's all orchids all through there as well.
and
Yeah.
the fritillaria, the
and
snake's head.
thrips, so yeah.
But that's the beauty about what you've created here is a garden that will just kind of ebb and flow throughout the season.
That's it.
It's a garden that I wouldn't want to leave.
No, this is
And
it.
that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? If you want to go out and find
You can
new
see
plants.
why I bought the house for the garden.
I can
And-
definitely see why you
and
bought the house for the garden.
Why I sold my house and bought into Ben's house, because we couldn't afford something like this out in the country, even with both our houses sold. And I could see so much potential. I sort of gradually moved from the top of the garden downwards.
see.
And he at first he was a bit sceptic what I was going to do with this beautiful garden. And once I'd done a couple of beds, he then said, well, you can do what you like.
I just saw the hard work.
Oh, I see. Yes, you saw
Yeah.
that there was going to be a bit of
But
a bit of work involved.
I built the boardwalks.
Did you plan the garden, or has it evolved organically?
It's evolved.
It's just
definitely evolved.
Because it isn't a heavily designed garden. It has that natural feel, and it doesn't feel contrived.
No, I didn't want some of the natural banks taken away. I like the mossy banks with a few snowdrops and maybe some frits and bits, but I didn't want it totally manicured, and because I think that's the beauty of the garden, that it doesn't look manicured. It just sort of almost looks as though it's just evolved like that, although it was a lot of hard work, and it is a lot of hard work keeping the weeds, bramble, any gardener has weeds and bits, but this time of the year there's not so many weeds. But
what's your tool of choice? Because this garden is not necessarily one for getting in and doing lots and lots of digging.
I've got a little basket.
I'm going to show you.
Treasure. Let me show you. Oh, I love it.
I'm going to show you two.
I was a theatre sister in the operating theatre, so I love tools. So, look.
Oh, look at these lovely little things.
Yeah.
So this is...
bulb planter.
That's your bulb planter.
Yeah, but I use it
wonderful.
for so much more.
Yeah, it'll be
than that.
ideal, wouldn't it? Just for getting in those nooks and crannies. Look
is
at that, sir. So,
Oh, that's my favourite. That it's like
We've got one each of these. Because we're very protective about our tools.
Obviously this is on a podcast. So how would you describe this tool?
it's like a little arrow on the end, a bent bit of wire.
So yes, as an arrowhead is a good example.
It's a perfect tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like a swan neck with a little arrow.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
And it's tiny. It's tiny in the sense that normally you would have something a bit more beefy to sort of get in there, but you can't afford to do that because you've got to get in amongst.
At the back, it's about an inch across and goes to a point.
Perfect.
And it's about 2 inches long.
So that I can see that being your favourite tool.
And this one is for just when I'm clearing all the leaves in the autumn. So it's a small handheld springtime rake is probably the best, but it's great. You can be very gentle around the perennial plants when I'm clearing all the leaf rubbish in the autumn. Love it.
Ideal.
So look, for
My
planting.
goodness, this is like some kind of I don't know, some medical. You said you were
medical.
You were theatre nurse,
yes,
were you?
yeah.
Well, this is it. This is
I
where
love
it.
it.
So you've got this basket full of these tools. Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the most enormous pair of twigs. Where would you get something like that?
I sent offline for them.
Wow.
They're what we'd use in the
Huge pair
operating
of tweezers.
theatres. But look, they're so good for just getting little bits of weed.
They're almost like chopsticks.
Yeah,
size,
that's
aren't
right.
they? Little
Yeah.
chopsticks, and you can get in there.
And I've got little tiny ones as well for when I'm doing other little delicate things. Because like when you're showing plants, half of the battle is having a clean pot, it beautifully dressed and perfect, and that goes a long way to just showing a plant.
So now we're through to the little polytunnel area.
Yeah.
Gosh, just looking behind us here, these are all for sale, are they? These are, or are these your?
Well, these will be for sale probably next year. They're coming on.
So this is the little polytunnel we were talking about for your tomatoes at some stage, but they're still now full of
Bulbs.
bulbs.
So, well, not necessarily. So that the two trays in the corner there are potatoes. Now, people say, "Oh, you chit potatoes." So you know where you leave them in the light and the little green shoots come up. And an old boy we're friendly with, he said no. He said, put the potato in a pot, and he said you start getting the roots as well as the green tips. And I've done it now for several years.
And we get
Perfect.
Yeah.
So much better than
What
just
a top
chitting.
tip!
Yeah.
I mean, my view is whether you To chit or not to chit? That is the question.
Yeah, because some people don't even chit.
Because some people don't. And I used to work on an organic kitchen garden.
Oh, right,
Soil Association.
Yeah.
Kitchen garden. And we didn't have the time.
No.
We had to get the spuds in the ground as quickly as possible. And do you know what? We'd never had any problems.
No.
So it's kind of, I'm not quite sure whether it's a thing or not.
I think it's just a thing,
I think it's a thing.
Yeah.
I do quite enjoy it though, because I quite like seeing them. But that's a great idea. So these are just
when
7 centimetre
so
square
in,
pots.
Yeah. So I grow those in tubs. All my potatoes. I don't have the space for Paddy's taking all my.
How many potatoes do you put in a tub?
3.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because you've probably been growing vegetables for quite some time.
Yeah.
And yet you've had that chat with somebody, an old boy.
He's 93.
And he's still, if we're going to an Alpine place, he gives me a list. He's still got that excitement. You can't believe it. Yeah, he's such a lovely chap. We love visiting him.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
But you learn so much all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about horticulture.
That's right. He's just sent me a paper again on uvularias. He's obsessed with uvularias. And it's so lovely. Paddy, could you read over this?
There we are. Yeah.
You know.
Oh, bless him.
Oh, yeah.
These are trilliums that I've grown from seed.
All of them.
Wow.
And it takes about 6 or 7 years for them to flower. But these are definitely flowering size now.
So you planted the seeds 7 years ago?
No, these. So I took the seeds off trilliums that we bought and we grow in the garden. And it's just a peculiar passion of mine,
and also a very patient passion.
Yeah.
To get to
but
this
when they
one.
do flower,
A lot of them might flower this year.
Yeah,
You can see such fat buds coming up.
That's
It's
exciting. What are you going to do with them?
Some will plant out, and
if they're
some
ordinary,
will put in the plant cell.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I said to Ben, you really need to see the flower before you let things go, because there might be something really quite special that would be lovely for us to grow in the garden.
Absolutely, yeah. You get first dibs, of course.
That's right, I know.
After six years, I would definitely have first dibs on
right. Ben built me this other bed at the back. We call it the fig bed, and it's got blueberries in it, and it's clematis, it's rambling roses, and then lots of snowdrops for other bulbs, and this is just full of stuff in the summer as well.
And of course your fig.
Yeah, that's right. The fig, we have got great figs off it. It's really,
and of course, I guess if the sun's coming from that direction, it's probably going to love it.
Yeah. Oh, I'll tell you what, it's nothing like a warm fig off the tree.
You have to get them before the wasps, though, don't you? That's the thing.
Yeah, the blackbird quite likes them.
This used to be a vegetable bed.
Okay, you said that with some kind of...
Yeah. There was a takeover bid on it.
A takeover bid, right, okay.
What happened was I wanted an overflow bed for the winter. And so I started putting things down here for the winter, and they rooted, and then I sort of took it over, really.
I guess the problem with vegetables is that they really are probably the worst plant to go with an Alpine.
Yeah.
Because you're forever obviously digging a vegetable up.
Yes.
Or doing something.
Yes.
And, getting the soil ready. Whereas you really don't want to disturb the soil. And then you've got this lovely little greenhouse at the end.
Yeah, Ben built this for me. It's a second-hand one. We got off somebody that was moving into a flat, and so we bought it off her, and each piece was sort of labelled, and he built me the base. Because it always flooded down here in the winter, he built it up so I step up to it.
I see, because I wanted to say it was sunken, but it's not, is it? It's raised.
No, it's well raised, yeah.
So, you can see that some of my show plants and show pots, but just things I like growing.
There's the vine-looking. Is that tropelium?
Yeah, it's a tropelium.
Tropelium, and
Yeah.
that'll be covered in
little
dainty
flowers.
little flowers.
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Does it get any bigger than that?
No,
Because it's quite a small.
No, every year it dies back to nothing. So you can pull it.
It grows from a
like
corm
this-
like a potato.
Yeah.
Ah, right. Okay.
Yeah. So the corm or rhizome or
Rhizome,
whatever, it is like a potato.
But now we're getting some milder weather. A lot of these pots can come out, and otherwise sometimes they just get a bit leggy indoors all the time.
They get a bit lazy.
Yeah, that's right. And this all little bulbs and things pop up in here, and it's quite colourful at times.
Oh, it's a beautiful
Yeah.
little space, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what Paddy's done in there, it literally that is just sand, and maybe with a bit of soil that was on the roots of the plants when we put in it.
That's quite deep, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's
So
6
it's quite
inches of
nice.
sand.
So look,
Gosh,
this
and that-
little geospermum is just.
Oh, isn't it
It's
beautiful?
it's like a berberis
Gosh,
flower.
that's absolutely.
I
Oh, you
know.
can see it just coming through now,
Yeah.
can't you?
Yeah, just.
At
and
what
that's
time will they be? Will that be at its
another
best?
month?
Another
It's
month.
very slow, but I found another one of the same species at the South Wales show. So once it's finished flowering, I'll plant them all together. So I'll gradually have a potful that I can put on the show bench. But all these hellebores up here, they're all my seedlings from my first garden. So when I moved into Ben, I just dug. There was a whole patch of seedlings, and I just then potted them up. When they flowered, then I started.
Isn't that wonderful? So it's like
Yeah.
a legacy to
It's-
your
that's right.
original garden.
Yeah.
And this is looking stunning, isn't
Oh, the Hemoalis have been exquisite this
it?
year.
Haven't they?
They've
Haven't
just
they?
lasted as well, haven't they?
Yeah.
Everywhere I've
Yeah.
been.
It's just going over now, which is
Yeah.
we're hoping it might last till Sunday
Yeah.
when we open.
Yeah. But it's certainly put on a show this year.
Yeah. And then later on, this has got summer honeysuckle, and also a rambling rose.
The
and-
rambling rector.
Yeah.
Of course, the
So-
famous
Yeah.
rambling
Yeah.
rector.
You can see it all up there.
Yeah.
And the one in that corner,
Bobby
which
James.
is amazing, is
Oh.
Bobby James. And that looks just like a glacier coming down.
Oh,
it's
it's just-
totally covered in white flower. It's amazing.
Yeah. And the bees, you can hear them sort of all on these. They love these roses because they're singles and they're open, and they can get in for the pollen.
Do you have like a sarcococca or something like that
No.
as well? You don't?
No, because I
Yeah.
love the smell of that.
I'm
yeah.
just thinking of the
Yeah,
right
it would
now.
Be,
it would
yeah,
be kind
that's
of.
right.
you'd
Because I
get
see
that-
people using it in flower arrangements and things.
Yeah,
so you could,
yeah. You know,
I'm
that
not sure
would-
we could pop it in somewhere.
This side of the garden's got a very different feel to the other side,
Yeah.
It's
doesn't it?
totally different, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this is it. You've created almost like a journey. You've gone
Yeah.
through the centre and then up the other side, as it
Yeah.
were, come back round the pond, following the water course
Yeah.
that you've created that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dug that through, haven't you?
Yeah.
And what the ditch gives us is that it gives humidity, and down there we grow Mechanopsis, the blue
Ah, yes.
Himalayan poppy,
Yes.
which in the south of England is virtually unheard of in terms of being able to grow it. But we do manage to grow it along the ditch.
Because of the humidity
Yeah,
that
because
you've
of
created
the humidity.
by the ditch. That's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Another example of creating the right environment.
Yeah.
So this is the Daphne jesuensis that I mentioned, that I got seed from,
Yes.
grown them from seed.
Oh, wonderful.
But this is the original.
Oh, that's the original.
Yeah.
There it is.
So this is where the seed came from.
Yeah. And it's
It's
a beautiful little flower.
It is. And it's lovely to have it this time of year, but I don't think it.
But-
no, there's no scent on it.
It,
which
it
is,
completely defoliates in July. And so many people come around and say, oh, you've got a dead plant there. Are you going to get rid of that? You know.
And of course, you know better.
Well, we know better now, but the first year it did it, we thought, oh no, we've lost it. But we never dig up something that looks dead until it's been looked dead for a couple of years.
I think that's a really good piece of
Yeah.
advice.
I mean,
You
that
learn
little
over the
twig,
years, don't you, about that?
You do.
Yeah.
that little twig there, it wasn't looking too healthy last year. We cut back some dead growth, but we'll leave it and see if it comes back this year.
I think you've done a wonderful job of
But
creating
this bed has loads of lilies in it. What's that the lovely great big...
Cardiocrinum giganticum.
Well done, sir. I'm glad you said that, not me.
It's a Himalayan lily, and again, it's another one of those things that it takes 7 years to flower. But what's worse with that, when it has flowered, it dies.
And you've got some lovely sculptures in the garden as well, haven't you?
So my girls, I've got twin girls, they buy me these lovely iron snowdrops, which are lovely.
Garden art, is that what they call it these days?
Probably is, yeah.
Yes,
garden
like
art, yeah.
And just people say, we want to get rid of, these toadstools, and I've always wanted them. So,
He was a member of our group. He was moving from a big house to a flat and asked if we'd like them, and they're lovely.
I think they're really nice, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And they stop the hose going all over,
Yeah, they've got a practical
use as well.
sort of practical purpose. But the moss growing on them is quite nice as well, isn't it?
I love that.
We love opening the garden and always happy to do it for our gardening groups. We generally, this is our first opening, so we opened on Thursday and again this coming Sunday, and then we'll do it again in early April, and then again end of May, early June. In April you'll have all the erythroniums and trilliums and lots of the lovely woodland plants coming up. And then in May, June, you'll have all the lovely primulas, the irises,
the late tulips.
The aces will be beautiful. Oh, and the Mechanopsis if we're lucky.
And we have a seat that we sit up on, that bit at the top.
The seat by the compost bins is up at the top of the steps. Usually,
yes, just there.
There's some
the last
slabs.
of the sun.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And we sit up there when we've worked all day in the garden, and we chat about, could we move this or can we do that? And Ben groans at me, and so
the long-suffering Ben.
Yeah, I think that's right. I know, because I have an idea, and I go, do you think that would? And he just sort of looks at me. Oh,
More work.
More work. Yeah.
Today I discovered the joys of collecting and propagating alpines from those whose passion sometimes leads to an obsession. I discovered that surgical tools are just the ticket for maintaining your alpine garden, that ducks don't care very much for luxury accommodation, there is more to chitting a potato than meets the eye, and that the secret to a happy marriage is to have his and hers sections of the garden. If you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a review. It really helps more people discover the show. And if you'd like to support us, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com. All links are in the episode notes, including details on today's gardens and how you can visit them. Until next time, keep on wandering.